In constant sorrow through his day.
You're listening to Alaska Matters. I'm Christopher Story, your host for Great Adventures in the Last Frontier, along with Mr. Dave Webb, back up at the mothership of all things KGTL AM 620. In the studio with me is Mr. Monte Davis. He is the Executive Director of the Homer Chamber of Commerce. He'll be answering my questions about the Homer Shopping Derby and the Halibut Derby. Coming up, Jon Faulkner here to answer my questions and possibly yours as to why he would like to replace Paul Seatons down in Juneau. And the Republican primary coming up, your opportunity to ask Jon some questions. Why is he running? What's going on there? Has Paul done anything right? Has Paul done some stuff wrong? We're going to get into that with Jon in just a moment. But first, Monte Davis, welcome to the program, honey.
Thank you, Chris. Happy to be here as always.
Awesome program at AJ's the other night. AJ's Old Town Steakhouse, just a great performance. You and Joanne, just awesome. On your game.
Thank you. Really.
Sold some CDs. You can pick up CDs there.
Yes. Yep.
It was great.
It was a wonderful time. I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Well, it was obvious. And that's I guess the thing. When you're doing something you love, it's pretty obvious that you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah. It makes all the difference for sure.
I agree. Okay, so let's clear up some stuff about the Halibut Derby. Is it about size this year, or is it just the tag fish, or both? What's the deal?
It is both.
It is both.
While we have done away with the monthly size prizes, that was the thing that was killing us, was because last year I watched Paula, our Derby manager, drive out to the spit almost daily to weigh in these 85, 90-pound fish for people thinking that they might win fourth prize, which was $250, so maybe they would get their charter paid for. So we decided that, those were first of all, those are the prime breeding fish, and we just didn't want to. We realized people are probably still going to keep them. I wouldn't want to discourage you from keeping them, but I also don't want to encourage you. We don't want to, as the chamber, encourage people to take prime breeding fish.
Got it.
On the chance that they might win fourth prize.
So the monthly weigh-ins monthly prize is done away with.
Done away with, but we kept the overall big fish.
Okay.
So that's why we're letting people know we have now a 219-pound fish on the board.
Okay, and what about the tagged fish that are out there? How has that changed from last year?
Well, the way that it's changed, and I'm glad that you asked this, because one of the things that we didn't want to happen is just say somebody went out there and caught that GCI $50,000 tagged fish May 16th.
Right.
Well, this year, any of 2012 tagged fish that are caught, we will acknowledge that people get all of their information, and then all of that tag and everything else is going to go into a vault that we have at the chamber. And on September 16th, the day after the Derby ends, we will pull those out and see did they win a $10,000 fish?
So it doesn't say right on there, hey, you're the big winner. This is just a tag.
It's a number.
Enter. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a numbered thing, and you're, that was one of our concerns was. Remember last year when the guy caught the 350-pound fish on Father's Day?
Oh, yeah.
Ticket
early
sales
out, plummeted.
Just died for a couple of weeks. So we thought, we need to protect ourselves and the Derby itself.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. And that's what my dad and I were talking about while we were out there fishing. It was like, well, what if we pull that up? And, but so we won't know. It's going to be... Now, what's the number on that big... No, I'm kidding. Stop it. You have to be very delicate with Monte. He might have just told us, and then he'd get in trouble. All right, so that clears that up for me. Thank you.
Good.
Let's talk about the shopping derby. How do you play the shopping derby?
With any of the participating merchants, on their door, there's a little sticker, kind of like a Visa thing, only a little bigger. It says that I'm a participating shopping derby merchant. You go in and you can buy a ticket for $10. That gets you entry into the $5,000 drawing. On the ticket, though, there's a space for 4 stamps, and when you spend between $1 and $100 with them or any other participating merchant, they can put a stamp on it. When you get 4 stamps, you get a second entry into the $5,000 drawing. Right. So with any part, you can stop by the chamber to do that, to pick up your derby tickets, just like with the Halibut Derby.
Right. Okay.
Or any participating.
It doesn't cost anything to pick it up.
$10.
Oh, it is. It's $10 to enter. And then when you spend, and you're going to anyway,
that's correct,
spend the money, you enter to win.
Yes.
Okay.
You get a second entry on that same ticket number.
Got it.
Because it's going to be done by computer. When we put in Chris Story bought ticket number 10136, when you either leave with the fourth person, the fourth merchant, or bring it back to the chamber, or mail it in to us, however you get us that information, then we just double that ticket number.
Okay. What's been the response to that? A lot of people playing along?
It was really good when we first took off, but it's kind of dying a little bit, and I've started to realize we need to start marketing to people who are getting to coming to town. It's not just for locals, you know.
Right.
And so I told you I'm kind of working on a couple of campaigns to figure out how to reach people as they're coming into the town, so that when they get here, they go, "What's this shopping derby thing?" It sounds like a fun thing.
Right.
So I am having to work on it because it was big when we first started right at Shorebird Festival, and we got the newspaper stories, and all that.
And a lot of merchants participating.
Over 60 already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And we're hoping still for more.
Awesome.
I think the more that they see that we're actually doing our best to drive business into their businesses. We're trying to make cash registers ring in a fun way.
Yes. No, I like that. Anything you can do to encourage that, because a lot of people don't want to fish, but yet they can participate just like this.
Yeah.
So that's great. Okay, where can folks go online to get more information about both the halibut and shopping derbies?
Well, online they can go to jackpothalibutderby.com, but the shopping derby, the only reason you can... Alaska has kind of weird gaming laws regarding the internet. They were written in the early 90s, and they were very paranoid about any kind of gambling online then.
Okay.
But because we already had a website for the Halibut Derby, it's grandfathered in, but we really can't market online for the shopping derby.
Just come down to the chamber.
They are working on changing it.
Okay.
But
down in Juneau?
Yes.
Well, we'll talk to Mr. Faulkner about that.
Yeah.
All right, so go down to the chamber or give them a call, 907-235-7740.
Correct.
235-7740. And do not miss Joanna Monte, AJ's. What's the next date? It's a Thursday.
June 28th.
June 28th, 7 to 9.
Thank you, yes.
Awesome time. You will not regret it. It's a great, great show. So thank you very much, Monte. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Chris. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with Jon Faulkner and find out why he's running for a job in Juneau here on Alaska Matters. After this long winter, you deserve a break. Treat yourself to the joys of Alaska this summer and let Dutch Boy Landscaping take care of your lawn and yard work. Danny and his team are ready to make your property look its best. So when you see the bay is flat calm and the fish are biting, head out on the water and know your lawn's going to look its best all summer long. Dutch Boy Landscaping. Call Danny today at 235-7140. That's Dutch Boy Landscaping at 235-7140. Dutch Boy, your lawn's best friend.
Now's the time to get those construction projects lined up for this summer. From excavating to landscaping, Gregoire Construction is the one to call to get it done. Call and talk to Richard about the work you'd like to have scheduled at 399-1526. Driveways, asphalt paving, water and sewer, land clearing and landscaping. Call 399-1526, 399-1526. Licensed, bonded, and insured. Gregoire Construction.
Would you rather have a golden egg or the goose that laid it? I'm Chris Story for Radio Realty, and you know my answer. Real estate's that golden goose that will bring you and your family long-lasting prosperity. Yeah, when the egg's been fried, your goose will be healthy and bringing you good fortune. Tune into Your Wealth every Wednesday at 12:30 on KPEN 102 FM and online at radiorealty.us. Miss a minute, you could miss a million.
Just take those old records off the shelf. I said listen to them by myself.
I'm Christopher Story, your host for Great Adventures in the Last Frontier. It's time for our Blackwater Bend Mind Bender. Don't forget, Blackwater Bend is your home for amazing coffee. They are super people. They're what Alaskans are about. They're Alaskan through and through at Blackwater Bend, and you can take it home with you. If you like it and you're visiting, or if you live here and you just want some of it on Sunday morning, you don't feel like going anywhere, grab a pound or two of their award-winning espresso blend, beans, whole beans. It's just the bomb. Here's the question, and here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to text message me your answer at 299-7653. 299-7653. Here's the question. Todd Palin is entering the reality show game. What's the name of the show he'll be on? Todd Palin to star on a reality show. What's it called? A, Stars to Stripes. B, Mr. Mom. Or C, First Dude. Which is it? Stars to Stripes, Mr. Mom, or First Dude? Send me a text message to 299-7653. Also, if you've got a question for Jon Faulkner, send a text there as well, and we'll get to him as often as we can. Please welcome to the program the aforementioned Mr. Faulkner. Hello, and how are you?
Thank you, Chris Story. I'm just very fine. It's a beautiful day. Thank you for having me.
It's a beautiful day, but what are you, stupid or something? Why are you running for Juneau? What's going through your mind?
Well, there's a lot of big issues facing us as a state, and I'd like to think that I can help in that regard. I'm obviously looking for a change. I believe that we need a change and a more conservative change.
Well, that said, let me just ask you this, because I wanted to frame this in my mind and just say apples to apples. Okay, you're a businessman. Paul Seaton, your opponent, is a businessman. You're a longtime Alaskan family man, so is Paul. You're a Republican, so is Paul. You're a real estate investor and developer, so has Paul, or at least he has in the past. So let me just ask you this real plainly. Are Republicans faced in this primary with shades of gray, or is there a choice here? How do you see it?
Absolutely not. It's a very distinct choice. I would think in virtually every aspect of what's important to Republicans, I'm a more conservative candidate than Paul. So I don't believe that we're dealing in shades of gray. I believe that we're dealing with some significant philosophical differences on very important issues.
Okay, is there an example of something do you think that Paul did over the last session or two that maybe you would have done differently or taken a different approach, and you can kind of enlighten us on what those contrasts might be?
Well, I'm certainly a lot more favorable to incentivizing additional investment by our oil industry into what is declining production. Paul, I don't believe, is he introduced legislation to increase taxes on the oil company. So
was that through a GIA?
No, this was legislation that was aimed at revising the oil tax structure.
Okay.
So he introduced legislation to lengthen the session. I believe we should have fewer laws. I think we should honor the 90-day session that voters passed. On social issues, I'm more conservative. He's voted against what they call parent scholarships to help parents educate their children in a manner that is self-directed. I would have voted for that. He's voted consistently to use taxpayer money to fund teen abortions. That's important to some people, certainly important to me. There's a distinction there. So I think across the spectrum of issues, I represent a more conservative choice than Paul.
You know, there's this sense, I think, with some folks when they get to Juneau even, is silly as a notion as it may be, that there's some sort of entitlement or aristocracy to being a representative or a senator. And I had Lauren Lehman on this program as a guest, and we were going to debate or discuss the merits of the national health care legislation, otherwise known as Obamacare. And so it occurred to me that, well, maybe we could have somebody on the program that would argue in favor of that new legislation. And I contacted, I believe her name is, I believe it's Betty Davis. I believe it's Senator Betty Davis. And I contacted her office, and you would have thought I was trying to get in to look at, sneak a peek at the Queen's knickers. I mean, it was like, it was just layer upon layer of, and I was spoken down to, and I was corrected by, I just felt like, wow. What can you do, John, to assure people that, you know, should you get the job in Juneau, that you'll be available, accessible, and it's not going to, you know, all of a sudden become
well, I've got
royalty.
3 answers to that. Talk to my employees. Ask them how responsive I am to their needs, whether they're a dishwasher, whether they're a housekeeper, regardless of where they are on the spectrum. Ask them, do you know, how responsive have I been as an employer to their concerns? Secondly, customers, do I return their phone calls? I'm obsessive about it. If somebody calls me, I call them back. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. It's just a philosophy that I have, which is called customer service.
Yeah. Well, this is good. I would love to see, and this is not a reflection on Paul per se, but I would love to see in politics in general that sense of customer service, and not just at election time, but just year-round and throughout the whole cycle, the whole
he
process.
Talked about an aristocracy in Juneau, and I think that's part of the problem. And Paul wants to lengthen the session, create more laws, spend more taxpayer money. I believe it's a citizens' legislature, and anybody in Homer is qualified to serve. and we need a change. He's been there a decade, and that approach is an aristocracy in my view. So I think fresh ideas are necessary to challenge ourselves and challenge Juneau to think of new ways to solve problems. And you mentioned Betty Davis and healthcare. Well, I'd like to think that I can contribute to what is a national problem, and it's certainly state as well, which is a lack of health care coverage. But I don't want the federal government mandating that solution on my business. I want the business community to come up with a solution. I believe that I can. I think I have an idea that I believe Juneau will listen to. And I think part of what I provide here is, in terms of my conservative philosophy, a little bit more connection with the majority that is in a position to move laws through the House and Senate. And Paul does not enjoy that status within his own party.
Has holding elective office, or I guess I should ask you this first, have you held elective office before? And either which way, has it always been something that you just aspire to, or is this a new spark in your life?
I wouldn't say it's a new spark. It's a new sense of duty, and I mean that sincerely. I owe this state back hopefully some hard work that has supported 2 generations of my family. I'd like to think that I can contribute in that regard.
What do you think? What's your assessment of the Alaskan economy in general? You talked about, a sense of where the taxes. It sounds to me like you'd like to see less taxation on the oil companies to incentivize development and resource development and extraction here, which will lead to more royalties.
ACES is working fairly well. It doesn't need to be overhauled. It needs to be tweaked. Okay. And I think that there's going to be an opportunity to do that. The economy in Alaska right now, I think, is doing pretty darn good, particularly relative to the lower 48. So we have to, be happy about that. An example, Paul felt that a $2 billion capital budget was necessary to maintain the health of our economy in this state. I disagree. I would have put $1 billion in the permanent fund and $1 billion on the street in the form of capital projects. I think that's overheating the economy, frankly. But I think our economy is largely doing well, but we have to be concerned about where we're going. We've been blessed with high oil prices, but they may not last. Particularly as we're looking at a glut, it's not a glut, but certainly increased production in the lower 48. The oil markets could shift. And we have to be concerned about that, declining production at the rate of 6 to 9% a year.
And I noticed yesterday I read an article that Alaska's economy had grown we were, I think, number 5 in the union, or somewhere right in that ranking, and at a growth rate of 2.3 or some odd percent. And North Dakota was up at 5+%, and it seems like a lot of jobs, and there's a lot of discussion about the exportation of our, oil workers and so forth. What do you think can be done in Juneau to prevent that and maybe catapult us from 5th, which is nowhere to complain about, but maybe up to the 2nd or 1st place relative to growth? Is that possible for Alaska?
Well, yeah, it's absolutely possible, and 80-90% of our state revenues are derived from the oil patch, and a significant number of jobs. Certainly commercial fishing and tourism account for a great deal of that as well. We need to stimulate every sector, and we can, but it starts with I think, a respect for business in general and supporting small businesses, and that is where my philosophy starts. And it does translate to making to creating incentives to investment by large companies as well, because I can understand the risk that is necessary for oil companies to do business in this state, and a reasonable rate of return. But it all starts with small businesses like yours, Chris, and mine, and a less regulation that I feel is choking the free enterprise system in this country. And I'd like to think that if I'm doing my job in Juneau, that I am actually cutting back on the number of laws that control our lives as opposed to creating more of them.
I'm Chris Story, along with Dave Webb here, and Jon Faulkner is our guest. John Calhoun's, his days are behind us as far as politics. I did get a text message here. You're listening to Alaska Matters, and Andy would like to know specifically, are there any capital projects for the peninsula that you would like to advance or promote from Juneau?
Oh, my, I think, we have to weigh those in terms of our community priorities. I really believe that the priorities, capital projects, need to derive from our local communities. And aside from that, I'm for basic infrastructure. I'm for roads. I'm for waste systems, municipal waste systems. I'm for municipal sharing, revenue sharing. I'd like to see some consistency and longevity brought to that so it's stable. Local communities can budget into the future so that, for example, if we're expanding our ports, our harbor floats or something of that nature, revenue sharing can become a component of that is stable. So I'm in favor of that. But I believe in terms of specific projects, I'd rather not comment on those right now other than just to say I support infrastructure that the broad public benefits from and leave to the private sector those things that can be accomplished by the private sector.
John, as you travel around the community and what will comprise the district that you're seeking to represent, what is the feedback you're getting? Is it favorable, indifferent? What's the sense of the electorate as you see it?
Well, very favorable to this degree. I'm offering people a choice that they haven't had for a very, very long time, and I think I'm offering them a very distinct choice. So if politics is about choice and about exercising your right to vote for your future, I think I represent, at the very least, people an exciting option. So,
all right. Well, what's the next public event where folks can not get hands on you, because that might get out of hand here, but at least ask you some questions face to face? Where are you going to be?
Well, I'll be at the Catognos B&B out East End Road tomorrow night. I'll be at Anchor River Inn Friday night at 7 o'clock. Got a radio show in Anchorage, Dave Stearns show on Friday. So I'll be up at Happy Valley Community Center next Thursday, the 28th. So,
all right, you're out there. You're doing it.
Yeah.
All right. Jon Faulkner running for representative. John, thank you so much, and please don't be a stranger to the program.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Best of luck to you, John. And, of course, we'll be inviting Paul on the program as well. He can speak his mind. And, hey, just before the election, who knows? Maybe we'll get them on here together and have a conversation. Might look like a debate. You want to listen back to this program? AdventureAlaskaRadio.com. AdventureAlaskaRadio.com. Dave Webb and I will be here tomorrow for Radio Realty on 102.3 FM. Be a great program. I want to thank Blackwater Bend and all of our great sponsors. And, Tom, you are right. Todd Palin will be starring in Stars to Stripes. Oh, man, enough's enough already, huh? I mean, are you serious? I guess Todd's going to join another all-star celebrity cast of NBC folks, and it's going to be a new military-themed series debuting this summer on NBC. Must-miss TV. I'm not going to watch that. I don't know about you. Now, Sarah, I'll watch it. Dave, thanks for the program.
You betcha, sir.
We'll see you tomorrow. You can find us online at AdventureAlaskaRadio.com.
Polly was talking to that God.
By the way, you're listening to Andrew Vate. Pick up this CD. I love this. Tiffany and I just absolutely love this CD. You can go to AndrewVate.com, pick it up. It's called Closer to the Setting Sun.
What is war? Are they worth fighting for? Could it be that I don't know exactly what's beyond the door? Could it be? Tell me, Lord, could it be? Well, Paul was stationed at the western line. The enemy was creeping up from behind. Well, Paul was praying on a bed of snow when the enemy stabbed him and slit his throat. Well, Sally knew in the moment she did not say a word. She gave her last letter to the stones and birds. She was tossing rocks into that riverbed, knowing that a young Paul Wilson now was surely dead. Polly was looking down from heaven above all the south.
The Peninsula's home for unforgettable favorites. Great listening, 620 AM, KGTL, Homer.